couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today.
Good morning. You are tuned into 100 WSGI. This is Lori filling in for return home for tonight. And we want to let you know that please keep Laverne and her family in your prayers because last night.
I took a walk one street over from my home, cracked and broken asphalt everywhere. I could have ended up just like that broken road with a dead end in my path. Thank the Lord that I've got more than that. In this life there's nothing certain except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I won't forget the lessons that I don't deserve. Because one street over there's a life I
pray for your blessing upon today's shows. Thank you for WSGI.
One street over there's a life I could have known. Things aren't always
in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, today is a special guest that was quite popular, and he has not been in since summer. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's been summertime, yeah.
All right, so we have Matt Driscoll in, and some of you know he was a regular there for a while until school started up, and then you had a schedule conflict.
Yeah, it's going to teaching and kind of takes away from early mornings.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be at the school. So last year was my first year teaching, both Laverne and I. She was able to have she had first block planning. I did not, so that's why she was able to continue doing the show.
Gotcha. All right. So for those of you that don't know, because we actually have quite a few new listeners now, so I bet you that some people are going to be seeing you right now for the first time.
I'm wondering, who's this fella?
That's right. So you want to give them a little information on your background so that they...
Well, okay, I guess what kind of started this on the radio was a couple of years ago. I'm also an outreach pastor at Epiphany Baptist Church here in Springfield, where I run the local Celebrate Recovery. So I came on the radio with Laverne a couple of years ago, just trying to start promoting the ministry. And as we got talking, her and I just started getting really close, and was able to start sharing her, just what Celebrate Recovery is all about. So that's how I kind of got my start here as far as on the radio and in the community. We meet on Tuesday nights, Celebrate Recovery. It's a Celebrate Recovery. If you don't know, it's just basically it's a ministry for life's hurts, habits, and hangups. It's not just addictions, even though the word recovery is in there. People get that stigma where they think recovery is about drugs and alcohol. I don't know, you can't see the parentheses, but myself, yes, I came in for alcohol. My wife, she just had poor judgment in men, and she gets just as much out of CR as I do. We have folks, really only 33% of the folks that come to CR have addiction problems. The rest of them are life issues. I am no longer an alcoholic. I'm someone that struggles with depression. I struggle with anxiety, codependency. Those are the things that led to my drinking. So honestly, when people ask me, am I an alcoholic? No, I'm not an alcoholic. I refuse to call myself that. I'm someone that struggled with it, and I came in recovery for it, but that's not my battle. My battle today is anxiety, depression, and codependency. That's what CR does. We just kind of help get you down the root of your problems, really what it is.
And
community.
And this is perfect timing to have you on because, and yesterday we were talking about, what's our motto for 24? And we said, how about soar in 24? Just pushing ourselves to, to get better. And this is a great, I know that, now what was the 3 words that you said? Because you said them really fast.
Hurts, habits, and hangups.
Hurts, habits, and hangups. And I'm thinking real hard, but I don't think I know anybody that doesn't have one of those, right? So, like you said, everybody can benefit from it. And of course, some people, that do have addictions and different, things like that, of course, they definitely need to get in as soon as possible. But all of us can benefit from this, and all of us can, help. This could be a tool to help us move forward so that we can.
Yeah, we all have something. I mean, whether it be codependent, where your life is dependent upon everybody else's happiness, or you have that one family member that maybe has an addiction problem, and all you do is continually enable them. Biden's. Sorry, was that my external voice? I wasn't sure. Hunter Biden. We don't want to enabling. Enabling is a form of codependency. See what else? Food. This time of year. Oh man, how many holiday functions you go to? You've maybe done great all year, and all of a sudden November hits.
Right.
And whatever exercise dieting you had went out the window, and it takes about a year just to get it back, right?
Right. And I want to touch a little bit more on that because, there's so much sugar around right now because of Christmas just happening, and you have to be really careful, because sugar does stop your immune system. And so I know a lot of people that get sick in January and February because of all the sugar they ate. So be really careful. I know that all that stuff is around, but you just.
So, food, like my wife, that's one of her struggles is, she's still military. So she's going to make military standards and she comfort eats. Mm-hmm. And then next thing you know, she's struggling because now she's in a depression because she's struggling making the weight because now she's in her mid 40s. It's harder. It's not like you're 18, 19 where you just drop 10 pounds like that. The older you get, it gets harder to do. See what I'm trying to think. So there's some of the other ones. It just goes on and on the list.
Yeah. Well, I know
as far as folks struggling, anger is a big one. Our largest groups that we have in Celebrate Recovery, normally if we have a really big CR, we'll try to break it up in chemical, folks struggling with sexual addiction. Then we'll have the A to Z, the just everything in general group. That usually winds up being the biggest groups, in both male and female.
So I haven't been to a Celebrate Recovery over there at
Epiphany.
I almost said Ebenezer. Epiphany, and that's in Springfield.
Yep. 211 First Avenue.
211 First Avenue. So that's back kind of behind the historic area. Okay. And so you said sometimes there's big groups and you split them up. How many people are usually there at your cell?
So last night was a slow night.
Okay.
Slow for us, and we still had about 40.
Oh, okay. All right. So then what time does that start?
We have dinner at 5:30. We start service at 6:30. We do offer childcare from basically birth all the way through high school years. We have a good little youth ministry program going on at the same time. It's called The Landing, CR for kids. So if you got like a middle school and high schooler, bring them they can get some Jesus on during that period while mom and dad are going to get recovery.
Nice.
See what else we offer. You have to pick up the kids after you're done. That's my only request. I don't want them. We've got plenty.
And so this is every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday.
Oh, okay. All right. At 5:30 is dinner.
5:30 is dinner. 6:30 is service.
Now, is a dinner? Do they need to RSVP or bring anything, or is there a payment?
Come on.
Free. You just have free dinner at 5:30.
Yep. And if you feel led to donate. If not, just sit down and eat and hush. Okay. What we try to do is we try to take all the excuses out of the equation. Oh, I can't come. I have nobody to watch my kids. Well, hey, we'll watch them for you. Oh, I can't come. We have to eat. Well, hey, we'll feed you. So we try to take excuses out. Not all Celebrate Recoveries do it. To me, I just think it's just the right thing to do.
Now, how many people can you take? Is there a cap?
No cap.
Okay.
The Long Hollow Baptist Church on Monday nights, their CR, we've run over 200 at times.
Wow.
So we'll overcome and adapt. That'd be a great problem to have.
Right. Well, I would love to see this Tuesday your doors just be bursting at the seams.
Yeah, it'd be great. That'd be a great problem to have over 100. Last Tuesday we did a holiday, kind of like a little off night. We did a holiday. Our worship team, We did like a big old worship concert. It was a blast, but a really good time. It's not like AA or NA. Like, we'll get folks that come from the A's, the secular groups, and it's different. It really is. So like New Year's Eve, we're gonna have a CR New Year's Eve party at church, and I'm setting up a 120-inch screen TV to play John Madden on. We're gonna have cornhole going in the sanctuary, spades tournament. We're gonna have fun. And I asked one of the guys, like, hey, you gonna come join us? Like, no, we're going to NA. We're gonna be doing speaking. I'm like, oh man, come on. It doesn't have to be all that. Just come back and enjoy life. So we are a little different than the A's. Our meetings are a little more regimented as far as, for those that are out there that want to difference between AA, NA, and CR, we are gender specific. Guys with guys, gals with gals. If you have a woman that has come in, have been sexually abused, she's not going to feel comfortable sharing her struggles with a man and a man in a room. That's just, that should almost be common sense. So she may have come in for alcohol or drugs, but it may have been that sexual assault years ago that led to her addiction. So that's one of the reasons. Then two, males. If a male struggling with pornography, he may feel uncomfortable about discussing that with a woman in the room. We do live in a judgmental world time. I know I was talking about this last night that, I've seen guys come into a church struggling with alcohol or drugs. Let's say a cocaine problem. Somebody from the church is coming, hey, I'm struggling with cocaine. And the church will rally around them and hug them and say, oh, bless your heart. We got you. And they'll lift them up and get them straight. But a man comes in and says, hey, I'm struggling with pornography. And he gets run out on the rails and kicked out of the church. I've seen that time and time again. When it comes to sins of lust and of the flesh, we're closed-minded, especially for church. But yeah, if it's like something else, it's normal. We'll figure it out. Well, long story short, sorry, that was a squirrel moment. But that's one of the reasons why we keep it gender specific. That way folks have an opportunity to be open, honest, and real. It's a place where you can come, take that mask of perfection off. You and I have talked out of here. What you see when we are having a conversation is who I am right now. The man you're seeing right now is the man I am when I'm home. The man I am at home is the man I'm at school. CR allows you to do that. You can take that work mask, that the family mask, the my friend's mask, take those off and let it just be one. That's what makes this ministry so amazing. You don't have to like me. The Bible says the word love a ton. It does not say the word like. So I don't care if you don't like me. I hope you do. I hope we get along. But at the end of the day, I only care if he likes me. As long as God likes me, that's all that matters. So you can take that mask off and just be you. And that's kind of what CR helps you do. Some other ways we keep it safe is we're 18 older ministry. We're talking about some sensitive things, sensitive subjects. I struggle with I had an affair and I struggle with pornography myself too. I don't need to be talking to that in front of a bunch of 12, 13-year-olds. I don't want them going home and say, hey, mommy, what is this? Right. So we do keep it 18 older because there are some sensitive subjects. See what else.
And pornography is that's such a growing problem right now, and especially with the video games even.
Growing. It's been a problem for a really long time. It has, but people don't want to admit it. Why? Because they're afraid of the judgment. They're afraid of getting run out of their church or frowned upon. But even pastors, that's one of the number one sins for pastors. Downfall for pastors is adultery. I can't count how many times I've heard of cases of it. And just, but the whole, it's got such a stigma. To me, a sin is a sin. If I stub my toe and say GD, there's no difference in God's eyes than that and adultery. A sin is a sin in God's eyes, but for some reason, as humans, we put the levels of the sin. I'm just guilty of it. Trust me, I am. There's certain sins that, I've got my opinions on. See some others. 18 older. Now we are Christ-centered. We've heard me talk about throwing the Bible out quite a few times already. We are Christ-centered. I'm not going to make any apologies for it. I would not be where I'm at today if not for Jesus Christ. I give God all the glory. If it wasn't for the sacrifice that he made for that greatest gift that we got 2 days ago, that gift, and when I told folks last night, go back and read the Old Testament. You understand why we had to get that gift. Go read the Old Testament. So if you're out there and listening and all you've done is basically you've been living in New Testament forever, go back and read the Old. You will see why we needed Jesus. because we did the same things over and over and over again, rinse and repeat. I guarantee you there's somebody in the Old Testament you can relate to because they did the same stupid things you've been doing. Whether it be David and Bathsheba, whether it be, the list can go on and on and on. As far as every struggle that we deal with at CR is in the Old Testament. Every single one. So whether it be David and his sons, as they're bearing family secrets, and as it causes major conflict with David and Absalom. There are so many stories in there. Go back and start really reading the Old Testament, and you'll see why we needed Jesus. But because of Jesus, I no longer have to be perfect, and I can admit that I'm flawed. And we're not going to beat the Bible over your head, but I will definitely share what God has done in my life. So we're not. There's no juice to drink. There's no. You have to have a Bible. You have to believe in this and doctrine. Celebrate Recovery is non-denominational. You can find them in Church of Christ, Baptist, Methodist, pretty much across the board, every denomination. We're not going to, as far as I'm also a state rep, I tell churches all the time, look, I'm not going to tell you, we're not going to tell you how to have your church doctrine should be. As long as you're hitting the basics, as far as we kind of call it our DNA, then have at it. I go to Laverne's Celebrate Recovery. She goes to Madison Church of Christ. They don't have instruments. When I sing, it sounds like two cats mating on a back fence. I don't like a cappella because now you can hear me. So I totally Milli Vanilli it. For those that don't know, Milli Vanilli was caught for lip syncing because I know my voice is horrible. I'm so tone deaf. But that's fine. I'm not going to tell them, no, you have to have instruments. No, do your thing. That's more of a doctrinal thing. So God's just basically at our center, and that's really what it is. Are you just sharing the gospel? And are you letting folks meet? My job is not to force you to get to where I'm at. My job, just like with God, we're going to meet you where you're at. So maybe you're walking in the door for the first time, and one of your struggles was maybe you were a youth pastor or somebody that'd been hurt by faith, been hurt by the church. If I come in and start being overly Bible thumping and beating you over the head with the Bible, that's going to turn you off. So we're not gonna beat you over the head with the Bible, but we are definitely gonna share what God's done in our life, because that's I wouldn't have anything. The teaching, I guarantee you, being a teacher at 50 with a bunch of teenagers was not part of my plan. But God has something different. He said, "This is where I want you." And I just said, "Okay, sir. Yes, sir." Mm-hmm. If you told me I'd be preaching at a small country church here in Springfield, Tennessee, I'm from Boston, I'd be like, "Okay, I don't see that happening." Mm-hmm. God had something different. Mm-hmm. And that's really what happened. You just got to listen to God.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, same thing with me in radio. I never, thought, but I said, "Okay, Lord, anything you want me to do." Yeah. And it's fun when you really do say, "Okay, Lord, anything you want me to do," because He's got a good sense of humor.
It's simple. Life is so simple. When I know you won't be able to see me on the radio, but hopefully the camera folks can see it. Life is very simple. When you just say, "God, take this," with an open hand, or instead of "God, take this," with a closed fist. When you just say, "God, take this," life is so simple because He's got it. And all you got to be willing to do is don't have goals, but have visions, because goals are rigid. If I say I want to lose 20 pounds in 2 months and I lose 18, I failed. There's no moral victory in a sports column. It's either a win or a loss. So the word goal to me is a rigid term. I like to use the word vision. God has the visions for us on His plans. Those plans that, God knows our plans. They're more like visions. God will put that vision and say, "Okay, here you go." It's up to us to go down that path. It's up to us to do the work. And as we get closer and closer towards the end, that vision becomes more and more clear. What that vision looked like initially may be something completely different by the time we achieve there. Mm-hmm. But it's because of all the twists and turns in life. And then once you finally get to that vision becomes clear, and whatever it is, you're not let down because you weren't rigid with a goal.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's one thing like Laverne was talking about the other day, about her running for Congress. That ended up opening up so many doors that, now she knows why the Lord wanted her to do that. It wasn't to be a congressperson. It was, to open up these other areas.
Yep.
So you have to just be willing and flexible. I mean, God will show you.
Stop trying to do it your way.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest problem I see with editing. I've been doing this now over 7 years now, and the biggest problem I see is folks insisting on doing it their way. Mm-hmm. They know better. Folks will come in, I don't like how CR does this. Well, it's not really our way. It's not my way. This is God put it on the heart of the folks that started it. Mm-hmm. And this is how it's been working for the past 30 some odd years.
Wow. So CR has been around for over 30 years. 1991. Oh, wow. All right. Well, it is already 7:20. I can't believe that. So we're going to take a little sponsor break really quick. And
it happens with us.
You will hear Laverne's voice on this.
Robertson County, it is time to join the Gig Club. Get Cumberland Connect. If you are a Cumberland Electric customer, well, good news. You can join me in the Gig Club, and you can have a full gig for just $80, high-speed internet that will blow you away. If you're like me and you've had terrible internet service for far too long, well, it's time to get in the Gig Club. Now, what you do is you go to cumberlandconnect.org, put in your zip code, cumberlandconnect.org, and it'll tell you if they're in your neighborhood already or when they're going to be in your neighborhood. You can also just call them and ask the question, 1-800-987-2362, 1-800-987-2362. And if you're somebody in these areas, if you're a Cumberland Electric customer and you're having some financial struggles, well, because internet is now a utility, there's an affordable connectivity program providing qualifying households with monthly credit to help pay for internet services. And if you're eligible, you could receive a credit of up to $30 per month toward broadband services. And they have packages starting at, you guessed it, $30 per month. Be a part of the Gig Club or just get into high-speed internet with Cumberland Connect. CumberlandConnect.org. Tell them U-Turn sent you.
Okay, we are back in studio with Matt Driscoll of Celebrate Recovery right here in Springfield, and that meets every Tuesday night at 5:30 for dinner and 6:30 for the program, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and give that address one more time.
211 First Avenue, Springfield, Tennessee.
All right, and this is such a perfect time, actually. You know, it's the end of the year, so some people are making resolutions or just goals or, and here's the thing too, is like maybe you think you don't need CR, but some people who do. Why don't you invite them and go with them? Because, the Lord probably wants you there just as much as he wants the other person, but,
totally.
Just take people, right?
I see it all the time. I mean, it happens all the time. I think some of the most people I've seen catch fire for Celebrate Recovery the most are the ones that came to support somebody else. Mm-hmm. And then once they realize that they're screwed up, folks come in, I don't know why I'm here. Like, you just keep coming back. I will show you why you're here. We will help show you why you need CR.
Exactly. Because
everybody can. I mean, Laverne was a prime example of that. Mm-hmm. And now look at her. She's totally on fire for the ministry. Mm-hmm. But she was like, oh, bless your heart, you people. And she'll admit it. She was like that. She was like, it's for those people, parentheses again. But she's completely embraced it, and she's gotten a lot out of it.
And I mean, there's one thing that I've been learning because I have been going through the Art Mathias book, the Biblical Foundations of Freedom, and it's used in a lot of in a lot of recovery groups, but it's used in a lot of different arenas. But one thing that Art Mathias will say is any memory that you have that has hurt attached, you need to work through that, pray it, that we have unforgiveness, either it being ourselves or other people or God. And so to get through all of those,
one of the things we do, we just like with AA and NA, like we have a chip system, we mark your surrender time. First chip we offer is a thing called a blue chip. Now, I got my first blue chip is obviously for lust and alcohol and stuff like that. But then I've had other multiple blue chips, where we've got blue chips for other things. I got a blue chip because the hardest person to forgive was myself. Mm-hmm. I was abandoned as a kid. My dad bailed on me. Never had a dad growing up, and it was always a revolving door of men. Mm-hmm. Well, that totally messed me up. I've been sexually abused by males when I was a child. So there was a lot of male hurts. And that was just something when I became an adult that I was, telling myself, I will never do that. I will never leave my kids the way I was left. And, just eventually I just wound up doing the same exact thing that was done to me. And I felt a lot. I held a lot of guilt during that period because I moved down here to Tennessee to chase my happiness. I kind of want to be Peter Pan, want to be the boy in Neverland Island. And that just led me into a deeper depression. Even though I had that mask on, I got it all together. Here I am, Mr. Veteran, and this and that, and all these other hats that I had on, or masks that I would wear. And really, it was just all fake. So my third blue chip was for forgiveness of myself, because that goes into that depression thing. My fourth blue chip was I was going through seminary at the time, and I was working 50, 60 hours a week. So my fourth one was, Lord, please don't let me throat punch anybody. Because being short tempered and having to drive on 65 every day and this and that. And I know I'm not, but just keep my composure, allow me to continue to work while going to school and doing all this, just give me the strength. So we have these things called blue chips, just kind of surrender. And why we encourage folks to get up there, it's kind of like baptism. When you're getting baptized, you've already accepted Jesus in your heart. So that part's done. Now, when you're getting baptized, you're showing that outward expression of faith. You're showing others, look at me, I'm going to follow Jesus. And that's kind of what we'd encourage folks to do the blue chip. Look, I was forgiving myself, but that chip was just a symbol. And when I got up there to get that chip, that was a symbol to others saying, hey, we can turn things over. You don't announce what you're getting it for, but it's just a symbol of saying, hey, I'm turning something over. So when somebody goes up to the altar to pray, you don't know what they're praying. It's none of your business between them and God. It's kind of the same way with the chip, but we offer that chip. We want you to get out there and get that to show others that saying, yes, I want to turn something over. It's, you could get a blue chip for an addiction. You can give a blue chip for relapse. You can get a blue chip just for a feeling. Lord, help me work with my anger. Lord, help me work with my forgiveness of this person. Because my family hangs on to resentment like a dog with a pork chop bone. I ain't gonna lie, my family hangs on to resentments, and we're gonna not just resentment. We're gonna get revenge too. We will get revenge, and that's been one of those generational curses I've had to break. And those are the things that again lead up to the massive addiction problems, the big O craps. I don't focus on the big O craps because I'm focusing on the small O craps. I'm focusing on the small things that led up to it. And it's kind of what I tell folks, you put a safety thing. I'm also a counselor too. I swear I probably learned more from Celebrate Recovery on how to be a counselor than I did. I probably could have, if Celebrate Recovery would offer a counseling program, I would have saved myself a boatload of money. Because I probably learned a lot more out of doing like critical based therapy from CR than I ever did in college.
Plus, you're right there, working with people that are actually in those situations. So you're hearing real firsthand, not just textbook, right?
No, with Celebrate Recovery, we're not going to. All right, so in AA and the A's, whether it be Al-Anon, whatever, they have this thing called the Big Book. And it's just you and your sponsor, you walk through it. For us, we have this thing called the Step Study, and it's a series of 4 books. These 4 books are not talking about what did you do yesterday. What it's not asking you questions centered around what got you in the door. All right. We're not going to, I don't care why you came in. I don't mean to sound callous on that. I want to help show you what got you here. Not why you're here, but the what that got you here. And that's kind of what our Step Study does. And that's what Celebrate Recovery does. It helps you, the questions, one of the first questions in the first lesson is, what in your past are you hiding from? Or what in your past is a family secret that nobody talks about? As a child, how did you handle this? As a child, what was your coping mechanism? It's going back to childhood. So I think when God put it on Johnny Baker's heart to write the Step Study books, I think he had a little Freud in there. Because where Freud does believe that we are a byproduct of our family. And there are other ones that, other psychologists that believe we're a byproduct of our environment. And I do believe in all of it. So my counseling is, when I counsel, I tell folks, look, I am biblically based. This is biblical counseling, but I can't discount what the psychology behind it too, because there's logic there. Why do I have issues with females? Me and you, I can knuckle up with you. But if it's my wife or my daughters, I go into my turtle mode. Why? It's because I was raised by a very verbally aggressive female. My mom was not a nurturer soft person by any means. So anytime there's any kind of conflict with any of the females in my life, whether my daughters or my wife or ex-wife, I'd automatically go into my turtle shell and try to hide. Well, why do I do that? Why do I run every time there's a problem? Why can't I sit there and sit down like a grown man and have an uncomfortable conversation? Well, I couldn't do it as a child. I never had a safe place as a kid. So what makes me think I'm going to be able to do it with some, female that I'm really close with now? Now it's like, okay, wow. Okay, let's sit down and have that conversation. Because as that moment comes up, I start thinking in the back of my brain, okay, why am I doing this? And I will literally run the algorithm through my brain. It's like, okay, stop. Let's not repeat the pattern. Why am I acting this way? Let me go back to it. But the way Celebrate Recovery kind of helps you work that out, helps you figure out how does 1-on-1 equal 2? And that's probably one of the bigger differences between what we do and a lot of the other recovery type groups out there. Grief Share, you name the group. That is one thing from what I've experienced, is very specific to Celebrate Recovery. We're going to focus on the what, not so much the why.
Okay.
And that's what I love about it. And because for me, once you understand the what, the one and the one, you already know the two. You already know that part. But what's the one and the one? How did you get to that point? I mean, the list can go on and on for my hang-ups and my defects. Why am I doing this? Where is this? When it came to the lust issues, I grew up in the 80s, first off. I mean, that was a wild time to begin with. But then just being raised in the environment I was raised in with mom and the revolving door guys kind of thing. And sex was more of a weapon. It was a tool. That became ingrained into me. And then certain things were acceptable. And then all of a sudden, now they're not acceptable. It's like, wait a minute, you changed the rules. Oh, there's boys being boys. Boys are supposed to look at pornography. That's what boys are supposed to be doing. But then at some point, a boy becomes a man, and a man becomes that father and a husband, and now the rules shift where you're not supposed to be doing that. As far as society, obviously the church says always no, so I understand that. But as far as a young man not growing up in church, it's okay, and now it's not. Some of y'all may not get this analogy, but it's kind of like if you look at football players, if you look at certain defensive players from the 70s and 80s, they could not play today because the rules, they'd be getting flagged every 2 minutes for excessive roughness because the rules have changed. And they'd be, you see it all the time. The NFL will change the rule, and the defensive players are like, well, wait a minute, I could do this last year, but I can't do it now. And it's confusing. Well, it's the same way with our psychology, and not to say just males, but males and females, where certain things are socially acceptable now or here. Then you go to this group, and it's not socially acceptable. It's like, well, what is it? And it's a mess. But you've been doing this we'll use like pornography as the example. Yes, it's unhealthy, but you've been doing it for so long that's your normal. And dysfunction is safe. You feel safe in your dysfunction because you've been doing it for so long. That's your normal. And the hardest part is to identify or change to a new normal. If you've been, I'll give an example. A family wedding where I'm from usually involves an open bar. And at some point, my grandfather drunk dancing on the dance floor. Like he's 30 again. The man's like 90. Not a pretty picture, okay? That's a family wedding. Here, I come down here and it's a bunch of teetotalers. I'm like, man, this is a boring wedding, because this is my normal. Was you go to a wedding and everybody's drinking and partying and it's festive. Come down here and it's but that's normal. But then if I bring when I bring my wife up north and to do things or something, people are going to be totally freaked out because this is not normal. Well, it is to us. So normal is relative. I know I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but normal is relative. But normal is also, dysfunction is relative. What's dysfunctional to you may not be dysfunctional to me. And dysfunctional could also feel safe. So if your safe place was an abusive relationship, because you've been in it for so long, maybe that's starting off as a child. If mom and dad were abusive, and all of a sudden now you're in relationships with abusive men or abusive women, that just feels normal. And maybe every outside looking in, you're like, man, why, sister, why you with him? Dude, why you with her? She's totally abusing you, or he's totally abusing you. As the outsider, we see it as dysfunction, but to them, that's just normal to them. They don't know any better. What is the definition of common sense? I ask that question to people all the time. Well, it's just stuff you should know. Well, does your child know not to touch the stove? No, you had to teach them. Replace the word common sense with common knowledge. When I worked in the factories as a safety guy, somebody would get hurt and the supervisors say, oh, that fool just ain't got no common sense. Well, did you ever teach them? Has this 19 or 20-year-old ever worked in a factory? Do they know not to stick their fingers in there? Do they know that they have to do this? Did we train that person? Well, it's like that with life too, with our dysfunctions. What's common knowledge to you may not be common knowledge to me. I use the phrase, bless your heart. I always thought bless your heart meant something positive. Oh, you got cancer, bless your heart. And I'd get moved down here and people were saying bless your heart to me all the time. I'm like, why do you keep on saying that? And my wife had to explain, no, baby, they're calling you a dummy. I'm like, what? No way. And then if you're bless your precious heart, then you're a special kind of stupid. So it's just one of those things where that's normal. Dysfunction is relative. And we hopefully what we try to do to kind of land the plane on this topic is hopefully what we try to do is get you to the point to where you can see hope for the future. Like we're on break, you want to say, what do we want to go towards? 2024, we have an election coming up. We've had a very dysfunctional past couple of years. Hopefully we can get back to return to some form of normalcy, to a social normalcy. And that's really what it boils down to. I think that's the other problem too, is right now we live in a tough time right now where everybody, with all this social crap that's out there, because people are so focused on the individual and not the social, what's bred for the social norm. If pornography is bad, then we need to stop putting it in our music, in our movies, everything. A couple of years ago, Cardi B had a song. WAP was the name of the song. I won't say what it was about, but that was Song of the Year. That's where our society has gone. So here's music telling young people this is normal. This is normal. This is fully acceptable. If you're a female, use your body parts as a tool. That is not the message I want my daughters to know. Mm-hmm. What my daughters to know is, no, you are loved, you are cherished, your value comes in who you are, not what body parts you have. That's the message we got to start getting back to. I think in 2024, and I do see a shift as a teacher. I got into teaching because I was complaining about it. I'm a firm believer. If you're going to complain, have a solution. Mm-hmm. So I was complaining about education. So that's what I would decide I want to be a teacher. Now I'm complaining about politics. I'm thinking about running for office. It's because if you're going to have a problem, have a solution and be willing to stand by it. But I do see a shift in the kids. I'm teaching high school. I do see a shift in these kids, in the high school kids. They're still knuckleheads. But even then, they're saying, okay, this far left and this far right, there's so much noise because I was teaching government last year. I'm sorry about the cough. When I was teaching government last year, it was so hard to get a teenager to give their opinion. And it was, I'm like, come on, guys. Because as a kid, we were very opinionated. I just remember that's how it was during our time. And we had an opinion on everything. We were going to share it. To get these kids today to share their opinions, they don't do it. It was driving me absolutely nuts. I'm like, come on, guys. You got to care about something. To get them to open up was impossible. So then I kind of finally figured it out. I was, talking with a bunch of the kids throughout the year, and I think I figured it out. Is that there's so much noise on the left and the right, they've completely blocked it out. They're very moderate. The kids are moderate. They're like, okay, this just makes sense. And they're going back to a little common sense right now. Or again, here I go falling into the common sense. They're going into the kids. I think this generation is starting to look at it and say, okay, that's just insane. That's just not right. Kids are seeing kid after kid or parent after parent die of overdoses. When you have a bunch of millennials and Gen Xers pretending like they're Peter Pan and dying of fentanyl and leaving these teenagers behind to have to live with grandma now because mom or dad's in jail or dead now, these kids are like, yeah, this is kind of stupid. I have some students that very easily could be on that trouble line. But they're like, no, I don't want to be like my mom or dad. I don't want to. So we're really quick to pick on the Gen Zers, I think, a lot. Believe me, they're total knuckleheads, complete knuckleheads, but it's not their fault. But I do see a shift. I see a change with them, and it's pretty awesome. So I think there is hope.
All right. Well, that's a good segue for a commercial here, because we do still have one more to go, and it's almost quarter till. I cannot believe that, but it is true. So let's go ahead and hear about Barry and Rebecca Richards.
Barry and Rebecca Richards are with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. Now, what does that mean for you? That means you got a great team that's going to come to the table with you, whether you're buying or selling, or maybe you want to be mentored to be a realtor yourself. They would love to bring you in and make you part of the family, whether it be you're looking for a full-time change or just want to do something part-time. Now, if you're coming to the table as somebody that's selling, you've got to consider get one chance to make a first impression. Barry's going to make sure you make that first impression absolutely perfectly. He is a Zillow certified photographer, licensed and insured drone pilot, can do the 360-degree virtual reality home tours. We'll get you up on realtor.com. People are going to see your property. They're going to want to take a second look. Rebecca, one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist, which illustrates she studies all the time, staying up to date on what she needs to know to properly represent you. You can find them at sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or robertsoncounty.com, or just give Becky a call, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425, and always tell them U-Turn sent you.
All right, we are back here in studio with Matt Driscoll. It's been way too long since we have had him in, and for those of you that are listening on the radio, remember you can always watch the replay on Facebook. And so WSGI has the video up, as well as YouTube will for those people that don't have Facebook. And then, of course, WSGI also does have an app right now if you have an iPhone. We're still waiting for the Android app. But I know that Matt has given so much good information that a lot of you are thinking, oh, man, I wish I could send this to this person or that. So this is a great opportunity. You can forward that, and you can post it on your Facebook page and say, hey, guys, I think all of us could benefit from something in this talk. Because, even when you were talking about, different problems, I was thinking, wow, this could be real healing information for some marriages,
Yep.
For people to understand maybe what their spouse is going through, depending on, what they were raised with and such.
We would not be where we're at. I don't know if you've met. Have you met my wife?
I don't think so. Or maybe I have, but I just have never talked to her.
Yeah, maybe
for
briefly.
any- yeah.
And I'm not saying this, I know it's going to sound corny, but my wife and I were almost like a power couple in a sense. Not that I mean in the sense of we're pretty healthy. We have our moments where we just may not like each other. And again, the word love's in there all the time with the word like. There are times we may be cranky with each other. And that's fine. It's typical marriage. But without CR, we would not be where we're at. We're able to get through our struggles quickly. It's given us tools to work on our marriage. Step 10 is when we are wrong, promptly admit it and make your amends right away. That's step 10. Or what I'd like to say, when she is wrong, she has to promptly admit it. Well, the joke's a lot funnier when she's in the room. And there's been times where we've just looked at each other and say, step 10, step 10. We have sponsors, and that's part of the process too, is you find mentors, sponsors. And there was a case a couple of years ago. So what got us into CR is I had an affair, and it was a emotional affair and a lot of texting and stuff like that. So a couple of years into recovery, I'm leading a ministry out in Hendersonville, and somebody in my ministry was, and I hate texting, I really do. Cause I'm always driving. I was driving a ton in school. I just didn't have time for texting. Somebody in the ministry was kind of blowing me up with texting wise. It was just really kind of annoying. And it finally got to the point where you could actually hear snark in some texts. You know what I mean? You can hear snarkiness. There was some snarkiness in a text. And I go to show my wife. I said, will you see what this person's doing? This person's blowing up my phone. I'm kind of venting about this text from this person, these texts from this person. And my wife looks at me and says, well, I bet if it was fill in the blank, I bet you would have texted back quicker. Oh, wow. You want to talk about a shot in the stomach. I was mad. I was like, how are you going to throw that in my face? La, la, la. I mean, I completely lost my mind. Here I've arrived. Like, I'm a pastor. I'm clean. I'm like doing everything right. And you're going to throw this old crap in my face. I was really mad. So I left to go just get away so it didn't escalate. I called my sponsor and he's like, oh yeah, it really sucks. You shouldn't have said that. But if you had just answered the text, would you have been in this problem? He goes, do you realize that texting was the issue that you had with this other female? So that's probably a trigger for your wife. So he completely said, yeah, she was wrong for saying that. But then he pointed out where my flaw was. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, went from like, yes, I'm going to win this to she's completely wrong to, wow, I missed the mark. I totally missed the mark on that. And as I was having my conversation with my guy, she was having a conversation with hers. And we came back. We both made our amends. I guess everything was 100% hunky-dory, but things were a heck of a lot better than they would have been. You know, because we both made mistakes. I've never once complained about texting my wife ever again. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Because I realized that was a trigger. Mm-hmm. And if it's things like Celebrate Recovery allow us to do that. Where you're going to have folks that are just willing to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Mm-hmm. And with truth and love and honesty. You know, there's no, I've used my sponsor for any idea I run. Before I decide, hey, I think about coming to Teacher Dale. What do you think? And we'll talk through it. I think about doing this or doing that. I'll run through.
So for those who haven't been before, the format. So does everybody have a sponsor no matter what? Just those people that want one? How does that? You
gotta find it. The format is, first you gotta start attending. What I tell folks, we have two terms. We have sponsor and accountability partners. Now, accountability partners is like a player, a player, the player on the team. You're both out in the field. You're just kind of going through recovery. Maybe we're going through something similar that we can relate to and have hey, brother, I'm dealing with this. Oh, I am too. And you can empathize with each other. Where a sponsor is kind of more somebody that's like coach, the one that's been there kind of a little far ahead of you and maybe seen a thing or two. All right. It really just winds up being my sponsors, probably one of my better friends now. And there are probably areas of my life that I've probably passed my sponsor, but I still need them. I've definitely skipped over as far as a lot of the church and spiritual type stuff. I still need them. Mm-hmm. I still need to bounce. Hey, I need you to talk me off a ledge, or I need you to. Am I seeing reason here? And really, the only way I found Dale, my sponsor's name is Dale. The only way I was able to find him is I had to keep on going back, and I found somebody who we can relate. So he's a lawyer. He's got a very sharp, dry sense of humor like me, where he's very quick-witted. More times than not, if I could be totally ticked off or something, I could call him, and by the end of the conversation, we're both laughing and telling jokes, because that's our love language. So I had to go. It took me about 6 months of going till I found him and said, "Hey, would you be my sponsor?" Because you want to go in, check it out. Does that male or female? Does that person's walk and talk match what I want? So the folks I emulate in CR and church, and I'm watching their walk and talk, and I want to emulate. I mean, if you're going to be a football coach, you're not going to emulate the coach that just went 0-16. You're going to emulate the coach that just had a great winning season. So to me, it's the same recovery. You go in, you sit back and observe. You see some folks that are on fire for God, see some folks for fire recovery or just life in general, and then say, how did you do it? Show me. Mm-hmm. And then humble yourself enough. And I think that should be the word for 2024, humility. Humble yourself. Don't be afraid to humble yourself to admit you don't know what you don't know. Mm. There's nothing wrong with not having to have it all figured out. There's absolutely nothing wrong. Danny, my sponsor, he comes in one day, he's got this thing. It says, has a special name with a special tag with his name on it. It's like, what is that? He's like, oh, I'm a state rep for CR. I said, okay, well, what do you need to get one of those? And he told me. I said, okay, let me hang on to your shirt tail. And I hung on to his shirt tail. Humbled myself. There was a lot of humbling moments. I became a state rep. And I don't want to take the glory other than all I did was say, okay, yes, sir.
So as a state rep, what do you do? Do you go out other places and to try to make them
Talk with
another
other churches and help launch them, do whatever I can do for them. I'll go in and preach. I'll sit down with their team. And really, just like with my marriage counseling, when I counsel couples, I can't tell you how to have a perfect marriage, but I can tell you how not to screw it up. Mm-hmm. So this is my second CR I've launched. I've had some success and some failures. I can't tell you how to have the perfect CR, but I can tell you how not to screw it up.
Are there several CR programs in Robertson County? Or
no, we're the only one in Robertson County right now. Wow. Clarksville, Montgomery's got quite a few. Within our driving distance, you can catch almost a CR every night of the week right now. Hendersonville has got 1, 2, 3 Monday night, Wednesday, Thursday. Couple on Friday. Clarksville has one on Friday nights. Not Clarksville. Ashland City's got one on Friday nights. Montgomery's got a Tuesday night, a Monday, a Tuesday, a Thursday. Yeah, you can just go on anybody can go on the Celebrate Recovery website or their Celebrate Recovery app on your phone.
And what is the website?
www.celebraterecovery.com.
Okay, celebraterecovery.com.
And there's a drop down. It'll say Celebrate, find a location. Hit the drop down. You can hit your zip code. I encourage folks, put the 25, 30 mile radius. Don't be afraid to drive. I mean, it's just like I'm a counselor and folks will call, they'll say, hey, what's your rate? And I'll tell them my rate. And okay, we'll get back to you. But yeah, I guarantee if they want to go to a gym or a restaurant or something like that, people will spend ridiculous money on things or drive long distances for something that's not important. Mm-hmm. When it comes to our mental and spiritual health, how much work we willing to put into it. When I first got in recovery, so over 7 years ago, we didn't have the CRs like we have them. We've grown immensely since I got in here. I mean, we've added on. You can almost catch between Montgomery, Montgomery, Robertson, and Sumner. You can catch a meeting every night of the week, and that's a beautiful thing. That wasn't the case. Man, I would drive all the way down to Lebanon to go to a meeting. Wow. Because they'll tell you 90 meetings, 90 days. I knew I needed this. And for me, it was all chips in the middle. I was going all in. There was no half stepping. So I would drive anywhere to go catch a meeting. But we do. Don't be afraid to go step out of your norm. Maybe that's how you find your sponsor. Look, we're a small CR. We don't have a lot of people eligible to sponsor right now because we are still pretty new too. We've only been a couple of years. So I'm limited as far as the amount of people I have to sponsor. And maybe there may not be somebody there that's able to sponsor that even fits your personality. So go check out other CRs, man. I mean, it just blows my mind how people will spend energy chasing their struggles or their sins. If we could put a fraction, everybody out there, please listen to me. If you're struggling with something, just take half of the energy that you put into your struggle and put it into chasing Jesus and see what happens in your life.
I love it.
Put half the energy. Where will we be? Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'd love to see you put all of it. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to be realistic. Put half the energy that you're going to put in. I know when I was drinking, I would plan my entire ride home based off the liquor store I had to stop at. If it was, I knew liquor stores weren't open Sundays, I would measure what I had in the bottles to make sure that I had to go Saturday. So I didn't want to run out of alcohol, vodka on the Sunday. Heavens forbid. I have to go a day without drinking. That's a lot of energy lost. Take a fraction of the energy into food, anger, resentment, drugs, alcohol, pornography, fill in the blank, and put it towards God and see what happens in your life.
That is excellent advice. And we only have a couple minutes left. So I do want to give them an opportunity to get information if they want to do personal counseling with you. If you want to give out your information for personal counseling and where you do that.
I'm doing it at the church. You can call me at 615-598-3848. Again, that is 615-598-3848. I do all forms of counseling, individual counseling, marriage. Actually, it's probably one of my favorites, doing marriage counseling. I know, to me, this is about giving back. And that's why I love doing the marriage counseling. I know God loves to restore relationships. As long as you want to put the work, that means both, husband and wife. If both are willing to put in the work, every marriage can be resolved.
Amen.
It can. You can move past anything. But you just got to be willing to put the work in. I just love watching relationships get resolved, relationships get mended and put on the right track. So marriage counseling's my favorite, and definitely for sure. But I do individual counseling, do some teens. So, yeah, so it's 615-598-3848. And I meet at Epiphany Baptist Church.
And are there any particular times that you hold those?
Evenings, because I teach during the daytime I teach at Cheatham Central. So most meetings are Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays.
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Evenings.
Tuesday's CR. So.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yep. Evenings.
Right, so you can get a hold of Matt. And what a great way to start the new year, just seeking some help,
Mind, body, and soul. I mean, that's what you got to focus on in 2024. Realize that it's not just, right now everybody's going to be like, oh, I'm going to lose this weight. I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. Okay, well, what about your mind? Go see a counselor. Come see me. Come see somebody, a therapist, counselor, psychiatrist, somebody. Work on your mental health, spiritual, mind, body, and soul. Work on that too. Have that be part of your New Year's resolution too. God, I'm going to get better at working on this dysfunction or this character defect. Come to check out a CR. Get back in your church. Get into the Word. Start reading some Old Testament.
And like you said, put God first, and that's crucial to all of these plans. If you do put God at the center of everything, whew.
Oh, and for our marriage, I mean, I like the analogy I like to use is like an A-frame ladder. The big ones, those big 20-foot ladders they use to changing out the light bulbs at church, right? You got your husband on one side, a female and the wife on the other, and God's at the top of that A-frame ladder. If I don't like heights, so I'm going to focus on the ladder. I'm going to focus on me going up. I'm not going to be looking over her because if I'm looking over her, then I'm going to trip and slip and I'm going to fall down. So instead I'm looking up at God because I want to make sure I get up there safely. And as you rise up that ladder as an A-frame, what's going to happen? The husband and wife get closer and closer together.
I love that analogy. I have not heard that before.
I got a bunch of them.
That's great. Well, we only have about a minute left, and so I do want to thank you very much. This is Matt Driscoll. He is at Celebrate Recovery, and they meet every single Tuesday over there at Epiphany Church in Springfield. And I give the address one more time. 211
First Avenue, Springfield, Tennessee. It's 211 First Avenue, Springfield, Tennessee. Service starts at 6:30. We do have dinner at 5:30. Like I said, we do offer childcare from newborn all the way up to 17. We'll look after them.
And that's great. Like he said, it takes away all the excuses. So you get to eat, you get free childcare, and you get Jesus, and you get to work on your issues so that you can soar in 24.
And probably one of the best worship teams in all of Robertson County.
Well, there you go. Awesome. And I think U-Turn Laverne is oftentimes in that.
Yeah, she sings with them on Tuesdays.
Oh, very cool. And you can see U-Turn Laverne. And just a reminder again, please keep Laverne in your prayers because her mother did pass away last night. All right. You guys have been listening to 1100 WSGI, and I want to let you know that stick around for the Go Show. Thank you so much, Matt. I really appreciate you coming in.
My pleasure.
Hopefully we can get you in sooner than 6 months like it was last time.
When school's out.
Okay, when school's out, we'll have you back in. All right. Coming up next will be the Go Show. And as you know, the Go Show is your source of information and inspiration and always some dates to add to your calendar. And what I usually do the night before the Go Show is I go on Facebook and I look for those event sites that I can find, and I share them on my Facebook page. And so I encourage all of you churches to use your Facebook more by posting invites, because it's a lot easier for people to find those and what's going on. So go ahead.
Can I add something?
Yes.
So if somebody's looking for a safe place to come and celebrate New Year's Eve, New Year's Eve, we're going to have a sober New Year's Eve party at the church.
Okay.
8 o'clock till after midnight.
Okay, so Epiphany is having a sober New Year's Eve party, 8 p.m. this Sunday, December 31st.
Yep. We're going to have a 120-inch screen TV for playing John Madden football on the PlayStation. We're going to have cornhole up in the sanctuary. We're going to have cards tournaments. We're going to have all kinds of fun and games going.
All right. Awesome. Very cool. Thank you so much. And again, we have the Go Show coming up, and we're going to have Dr. Arlen Smith is going to be coming in right now. So stay tuned for the Go Show. You have been listening to 1100 WSGI. Make it a great day, and I'll be back in just a minute.